Hey, we want to welcome you to Revive Talk today. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, if I were to say, do you want a drink of water? Some of you may go to your refrigerator and pull out a bottle of water. Some of you may, old school like me, and just go to the sink and get a glass of water. And for you really brave and daring people, when you're outside, you might actually grab a garden hose and take a drink. But when you're near a third world country, water is a whole different topic. Water is full of disease. It's full of particles that can give you all kinds of health problems. And so clean water becomes essential to healthy people. Today, our guest is Seth Ray with an organization called Go Build Love. And they are providing water filtration systems in several different places. Seth, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm quite honored that you've allowed me or thought of me to be with you today, so I'm super excited to be here, so thank you.
It is great to have you. Why don't you start by letting our audience know a little bit about who is Go Build Love?
Yeah, so essentially our mission is to build stronger communities on top of water, and a few years ago, I was on a mission trip, and of all places, it was to Haiti. And what's crazy about our story is that I'd never been out of the country prior to this, other than my wedding to Mexico, which was very lush and it was very beautiful and nice resort and food everywhere, and it was just wonderful. And so I was invited to go on this mission trip with a bunch of guys, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Our job was to make a mess. We were actually charged with demoing part of this orphanage, and they just and then they were going to bring in some locals to come and do all the cleanup after us and put it all back together. So for a week, we just made a mess. And but one of the things that I left that trip from was I had never seen poverty before, not like that. I had never experienced what I understood ministry to be. One, I never experienced what I found out ministry to really be. And it all happened in that trip. And one of the things that I always tell people is that I left that trip with my heart shaped like a heart. But when I came home, my heart changed into the shape of Haiti. And so I was invited to go back again the following year. I led a couple of trips with our local church a couple times after that. And what ended up happening was we were invited to, I was invited to lead another men's trip. And I told the mission director at the church, I was like, I would love to lead another trip. I'll go anytime you want me to. But I said, I have a request. Can I pick the project? And is it okay if I choose some of the guys that come on this trip with me? And she's like, that's fine, but you have to do the fundraising on your own. And so I was like, well, I've never really done a fundraiser before, but yeah, I would love to do that. And so chose a handful of guys. I chose 9 other guys, did the fundraising on my own. And the project that I wanted to do, and the reason why I wanted to do this project is about 2 years in a row, we went to this little tiny place outside of Port-au-Prince, Haiti. They called it Little Africa is actually what they called it. And this little community called Ouest is what they called it. And there was this dilapidated building that was purely made out of recycled, reused wood, lumber, and it was wrapped in plywood. And what was crazy is the principal was there. We're here in the summer, in the early parts of the summer. There was nobody at the school, but all the kids were around the school, as you can imagine, which is a crazy thing. Can't imagine that sort of thing here. But it was just, it just blew me away. The principal said, hey, we have 300 kids that go to this school. And just to kind of give you a picture of how big this building was, it was less than 1,200 square foot.
And 300
kids. And what was crazy is we actually got to see how they do it right before we started the project, but they had a special way to get the kids into their classrooms. So they had lined them all up outside, and then they would, all right, it's your turn to go, and they would walk around the building a certain way, and they'd go in a certain door so that the next class could get in behind them. It was crazy. They were literally packed in there. It was just unbelievable. We left this trip. Well, and there was another part of this thing is there was a there was a well right next to this little school building, and it had chains all around it. And I just kept thinking, why does this have chains on it? Like it must be broken and so we asked the principal, why is there chains on this well? He's like, it's broken. And I have no idea. I've never pumped a well before. I'm not a geologist. I've never done any work with water, nothing like that. I was just curious. It's like, how much does it cost to fix the well? And the principal looks at me, and then he looks at the pastor that was with us, and he goes, I don't know, maybe $100. Like, you're kidding me. I said, let me ask you another question. How many people does this one well help or serve? And he says, about 2,000 people. And now I'm like, okay, guys, give me 20 bucks and give me 20 bucks and give it to the pastor.
Yeah.
And I was give him $100, go fix it, right? And so we get back to the guest house where we were staying that night, and I can't say that I've had, and I'm not even sure if this was one of those instances, but like where the audible voice of God tells you to do something or that you're going to do something. I'm not even sure if this was it, but it felt like that. And essentially, I just felt God said, you're going to do something about that someday. And so I was invited to go and fix this building. I say, this was the project that I chose. We go back the following year, and the well was fixed, which was just, I'm already a high trust person. Like if I've just met you, I'll give you the keys to my car, and I'll leave my door unlocked for you, and the refrigerator is all yours. I'm a high trust person to begin with. So when I saw this, I was just so elated, as you can imagine. And so it was after I took these guys down, we rebuilt this building in 4 days. And we get back from the trip, and I remember I'm driving in my car on the way to work that day, one day, right after we got back. And I was like, we could do that better. And we could probably do it in a way that was a lot more efficient and probably would cost less. And we could probably do it in a way that was more sustainable. And so I had all these ideas, and I was like, what if we were to get people that could go and we could do this? And what if the end result was just a community that was stronger, that was better? And what if we just started with water, like we started this with water? We started with water, and that's where our mission statement came from, is to build stronger communities on top of water. That's what we seek to do. And so that's what Go Build Love is. And we've grown a ton in just a couple of years. We're only just a little over 3 years old. And every day, no exaggeration, every day we learn something new.
So the main product that you're currently operating in is a water filtration system, which we see behind us here. Tell us a little bit about your plan. How do you want to distribute these? Yeah. What's the purpose? What's the follow-up? How does that filter build a community?
Yeah. So we start with an assessment. And before we do any assessment of any kind, of a village or any type of community in any of the countries that we work in, we work a lot in Haiti, Guatemala, some other places too. We're asking God two things. We're saying, God, what is the dream that you would have us chase here? And how is it that we can help the people of this community chase the dream that we know that you've instilled inside of them? And that's really been our Go Build Love story, is God kind of placed this dream inside of me. Like, what if we started something and built something? And then we actually went and chased it, right? And so that's what we seek to do. So we use the water filter, this is Sawyer 0.1 filter, as a way to get into the hearts of the people in the community. That's where we start. But we start with the assessment. And really what we do is we lean on our local teams to do this assessment. We don't do the assessments ourselves for a number of reasons. But the primary reason is we know that we're going to leave, right? We'll be there for a few days, maybe a week or two, but then we leave. And so we want to make sure that the face that comes back is a very familiar face. And so we look to our local teams to be able to be a part of that. And so what they'll do is they'll go find the pastor, they'll go find the community leader. If there's some sort of government official, if you want to call them in some of these communities, there's a mayor of sorts. Bartley in Haiti will go and he'll find out who that person is. And he'll usually take some soccer balls with him, and he'll get the kids to kind of point, hey, where's the pastor live? Oh, well, here's a soccer ball, and I'll take you to the pastor's house, right? And so that's kind of how they...
You've done that before.
Yeah,
we have.
So that's kind of how we get started. And then we just ask lots and lots of questions. You know, where do you get your water from? Is there a clinic nearby? If you get sick, where do you go? Do the kids in this community go to school? Where do they go to school? How far is it? If you were really sick, is there a hospital, and where is that? And how far do you have to go to get there? We ask all kinds of questions like, what's like the main form of income for families here? Is it farming? Is it something completely different? What kind of businesses exist? So we do a lot of things like that. And once we have an assessment, we also ask how many homes and how many people in each home. And those are probably the two things that we walk away. And the reason why we want to know those two things is because our plan is to come back. And we want to come back with enough filters for every single household in the entire village.
Wow.
And so that's why we do the assessment. We don't want to shortchange the community in any way, not even by one filter. So when we do the assessment, if we know there's 100 homes in the village, we'll bring 100 filters and 100 buckets and 100 Bibles, and we bring enough medicine for every single person that lives in that village. So that's the first process, is the assessment. And then we do the distribution. And the distribution is a very methodical, it takes a lot of time, but we collect data on everything that we do. We use a program called Sparrow. We're partnered up with another ministry called the Bucket Ministry that helps us out with this. But basically what we do is we collect all the data through an app, so we know exactly where we are, GPS location, names, phone numbers, everything that we can possibly ask, we ask, and we collect all that data. And then when we do the distribution, we show them how to use the filter. We actually, when we start the distribution, we say, we're here to give you 3 gifts today. Does everybody like gifts? Right? And the first gift is you get a filter, right? And the second gift that you're going to get today is medication. You're getting anti-parasitic medication. And the reason we do that, because we know it's going to expedite your health. And then the third thing that we're here to give you is the gift of Jesus. We want to talk to you about Jesus. And so that kind of sets the stage a little bit. And then we send everybody out of the room or out of the church or out of the mango tree, depends on what we're doing. And then we invite them one by one. We give them their filter. We give them their medication. We ask them questions. We collect all this data. And that's the middle part. And then the third part, and this is probably the most profound thing that I think that we do, is we do at least 3 follow-ups on every filter that we distribute. And so that means that our teams, and we'll bring a U.S. teams with us to do some of this work, but we'll go and we'll knock on doors. And we simply just start out by saying, hey, we're here to check on your filters. Can we check on your filter? And they invite us into their home most of the time. They'll pull their filter out. We can see right away if they're using it or not. And if they're not, we ask them why. And if they're having troubles cleaning it, we want to make sure that they understand how to do all of that. And then we say, hey, when we talked to you a few weeks ago, we asked you about Jesus. Have you had a chance to think about that? Or have you invited Jesus into your heart? Or have you made that decision already? And based off the answer to that, we'll have the opportunity to either share the gospel with them again, or in some cases, if they've already have Jesus in their life, they have a relationship with Jesus, we'll actually, hey, God's been showing me something about, and we'll talk about one of the commands of Christ, and then we'll tell us, then we'll open up our Bible and we'll go to one of the stories that kind of emulate that command of Christ, and then we just kind of talk to them a little bit about Jesus. So it opens it up for us to have a discipleship lesson with them.
That's awesome.
And so once we've done all that, then that's just the first part, and then we look at how we can build the community stronger through our building projects.
So Haiti's a big country. We've both been there. We've done ministry there. I would think the opportunity is unlimited. Like every household, I'm sure, could use a filter. So how do you determine which towns, you just meet people that are open to it, they're open to the gospel, a pastor?
Yeah, so we actually have a map, and that's how we started. And so right now we are working in the department. Haiti's divided up into several departments. We're working in the department of Atrabone, which is the largest department centered around the city of Gonaïves in Haiti. It's in the northern part of the country, just as an example. And so we have this map, and our goal is to start, we want to make sure that every household that needs access to clean water gets access to clean water through our organization and the partnerships of others. And that's where we start. So we're going to start with this village and this department, and then we're going to move on to the next one. And my goal is that within 10 years that we will have completely eradicated the water issue alone in Haiti. in addition to all the other things that we want to do there too. And so that's where we're starting.
Well, I do have a thought because it is water. And, you were talking about, hey, let's start with water. Water is so representative of, the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And bringing them life. So you mentioned this gentleman is so popular now.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years when everybody gets water and they love these people that are bringing it to them, they will change their governmental structure and elect some of these new officials that will actually bring them living water.
Yeah, what a thought. That's amazing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the filter itself.
Yeah.
How long does it last? How much does it cost?
So the filter is, it's built by a company called Sawyer. They're actually a Florida company. And what's so great about it is it costs just $50. We say it costs $50. And the $50 from a donation, when a donation comes in for the filter, it goes towards 5 different things. So it goes towards the bucket, it goes towards the filter and all the components that come with it. It goes towards the anti-parasitic medicine, a Bible, and then the salaries for the locals that go and do all of the follow-ups afterwards. And what's amazing is that this thing is, it's super simple. It will last 20 years.
Really?
It'll last 20 years. So what's crazy is, and you can see just how gross this water is.
As a matter of fact, you brought the bucket in and you brought a glass full of dirt.
Yes.
Which I put in there and I mixed it. So this is legitimately a bucket of dirty water.
Right.
That we're going to run through the filter, and Jan has agreed to drink it.
So
with the medicine.
We've gotten to the point, and we trust this so much that when we travel in country, we don't ask our, host or where we're saying, hey, can you take us and find some bottled water for us? We don't even ask that anymore because we have such great trust in this thing. And so it's super simple. It just works off of a
gravity feed.
It's just a gravity fed thing. And we source all of the buckets locally. And we try to invest in the communities that we work in as much as we can.
Yeah.
Economics as much as we can. So we hire locals.
That is amazing.
Right?
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
I could drink that. You want to drink it?
No. I mean, I'd be glad to drink it, but I'm just amazed if you set it next to this other glass of water.
I'll show you. Yeah, wow. So you can see the difference of that, right? Isn't that crazy?
Sparkling.
So it will filter out 99.99% of just about anything. So the things that plague communities, things like E. coli and cholera, which is a really big problem in Haiti. Sure. It takes care of all of that sort of thing. Even parasites, it'll take care of a lot of that stuff. So it just blows my mind that something so simple can be so impactful. And like you can see,
it's incredible.
And it tastes
really
good too.
I believe you.
Look at that.
So it's incredible what it does.
So you're saying this filter lasts 20 years. So is it a cartridge replacement? Is there a cleaning system? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's really simple. So what we tell folks when they get their filter is that every time you empty a bucket of dirty water, you need to back flush it, and you back flush it until the water runs clear. And so take some clean water. We use just a really simple syringe or a plunger that we just back flush it with. And if they lose it, they can go find a bottle of water, like an old water bottle, and they can just squeeze the bottle in.
So literally, back flushing this filter cleans it out to allow you to do this again. That's incredible.
Yes. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I have a question because, I've known of this type of technology probably for 30 years, and I know you used to work in this industry actually for a company. So there's no reason there should be anybody in the world that does not have clean water, at this point. This is what blows my mind for $50.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, when I started it was one thing when I saw that there was a well chained up, right? There's a pump that's supposed to service 2,000 people and it's got chains on it. That was one thing. What started to blow my mind is when we started to learn about the significance of water, especially in the developing countries. And so think about this. There's about 80% of the illnesses, the diseases that folks in places like Haiti, for example, that they get is all caused by their water.
Correct.
So, and our mission is to build stronger communities on top of water. And the reason why we start with water before we do a building is because we know that we may not need to build a clinic. But what's the point of building a clinic if I know that I can fix at least 80% of their problem with just the filter?
Right,
Correct.
That's great.
Or why would I build a school if the kids that would go to school are too sick to go to school.
Right.
And the list can go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can say that if I can give a family clean water, I guarantee you, Dad can go to work and he can provide for his family.
Yeah.
We've even had people. We don't encourage this, but we've had people. Because we give it as a gift, but we've even had a few people that when we've gone to do follow-ups, they've told us, I've actually been able to turn this into a business. And which is, I mean, great
Sure.
for them. Yeah, if they
Absolutely.
could think of it that. Again, we're giving it away.
Right.
But yeah, like, so people are thinking a little bit different. And again, we know that we're doing what we're doing because God is allowing us to chase this dream. If we can create an opportunity for others to do the same, to go chase the dream that's inside of them, it's amazing. We started to learn a lot about kids would be the ones that were required to go get clean water. And which just blows my mind, because I don't know if you've ever picked up a 5-gallon bucket of water. It's about 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's crazy is that they don't just carry that, around the corner or up the stairs. They carry that for, in some cases, 3 miles.
On top of their head.
On top of their heads, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's even crazier is that it's kids, girls under the age of 15 are twice as likely as the boys to be the one that's responsible for getting clean water. And not only will they carry one, they'll carry 2.
I think in the United States, until you've traveled to some of these countries, until you've been involved with this kind of thing, you really don't grasp how huge the water problem is. We are so incredibly spoiled in the United States when it comes to water. Even if we had well water, we then run it through filtration and lighting and everything else to make sure it's safe and clean. Here, you're talking about people going down to a stream and carrying a bucket back, and that is their water. There's no filtration. There's no cleansing of it. There's no chlorine. None of those things exist for them. Therefore, they have a lot of intestinal problems, a lot of health and medical problems just based on the water.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that there's a medicine that you're distributing. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we use a medicine, I think it's called albendazole, and it's just an anti-parasitic medicine. And we give that to every single person with the filter and their families, everybody that lives in their household. And we do that just because we know it expedites their health. Like we do our first follow-up on the filter within 10 days. And the reports that we get back just within that 10 days is crazy. And we know that there's an incredible health benefit, right, to just the clean water, but there's also a great economic benefit to it as well, because a lot of folks, when they have money, they won't go buy food. They don't go buy a car or a watch. They don't go put gas in their motorcycle. What they will do with their money is they'll go buy water. And as soon as they get one of these, they no longer have to buy water.
Wow.
And so like it just, again, there's so much that can happen just from this one simple thing.
Yeah.
Kids can go to school and Dad can go to work and
you change in a community with a simple filter.
It's crazy, all the different things that can happen from it. And then once we start to do that, then we look at like what we can do beyond it, right? Once we start with water, but it doesn't end there.
How do we donate? How do we buy filters? How do we get this thing rolling?
So we've tried to make it as simple as we possibly can. So it's really, really easy. If you want to become, and we call this the wave, by the way. We call this the wave. If you think about the power of a wave, we live Florida, near the water, the power of the wave, the purpose of a wave, where the wave comes from. If you do look into what all that means, we call it the wave. It's a community of doers and dreamers. That's what we want to create, a community of doers and dreamers. So to give to the wave, if you want to be part of this $7 challenge that we're starting, you can text Go Build Love, all one word, Go Build Love to 77977. And you'd be able to, you'll get a link text right back to you. And then you can join there, just click monthly, type in the amount, and then you're all set. And here's what you get as a member of the Wave. We've been working all summer long on this really cool thing where when you give to any of our water projects, we put barcodes on every filter. And the reason why we do that is, again, we're collecting the GPS location. We take pictures of the family that received it. And when we scan that filter in the field, the person who donated that will get a text message,
Nice.
and then it'll say, "Hey, thank you. The family that you sponsored today got their filter today."
Nice.
And so there's a picture and a GPS location on a map. It shows you exactly where they are. And if you can imagine, we have some folks that have donated several filters, and when they pull up their map, there's dots all over it, and which is just really cool to see. So yeah, so Go Build Love to 77977. You'll get a link back, and we could do a lot. We could do a lot of good with that.
You're talking about the health of a family who is literally taking a bucket and going down to a creek or wherever they have for water for their family. They're suffering because of the water that they're drinking. And for $50, and I don't know if you heard this, so I'm going to remind you of this. For $50, it's a 20-year filter.
Yeah.
So you're supplying that family with health for quite a long time. GoBuildLove.org in order to donate for the $50 package that gets a home, fresh, clean water. And I'll let you remind us again about the wave and the text number.
Yep. So it's 77977, and just type Go Build Love in that message, and you'll get a link right back. And it all takes you to the same spot. But yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. And the reason why we want to do, the reason why we want people to join the wave is because, again, it's an insignificant number. Mm-hmm. It's a significant number. Biblically, 7 is a significant number, but it's an insignificant amount. Mm-hmm. And over time, you're doing the exact same thing and more, actually. And so, but yeah.
Our guest today has been Seth Ray with Go Build Love. You can check them out at GoBuildLove.org, supplying health, building a community on the water. And Seth, we appreciate your time today. We appreciate the information.
Thank you.
We just bless this ministry. We believe it's substantial and real.
Yeah, thank you.
And we've been to the places where you're ministering at. We know the need is real. The need is true. So please give it a moment. Go check out the website, GoBuildLove.org. Thank you so much, Seth. God bless you. Have a great day.